All right, the next story that we have, let's move on. We've got this one. This story also comes from the Boston Globe. I've mentioned them a few times today. The Boston Globe says that let me back up a little bit. So let me explain something that I learned when I was growing up. Okay. When you want to, let's say that you're growing up and you've got some brothers. I had 2 younger brothers when I was growing up. Or you're growing up and you spent some time at the friend's house, or you've got some, a bunch of siblings or a big group of friends, you're in grade school, whatever it is. The teacher, your parents, your mom, somebody, they say, I'm going to give you a bag of candy, but I need you to share this with your brothers, share this with your siblings, share this with your friends. They give you a big bag of candy and they said, hey, mom says, you better split that up evenly. Separate that candy out, spread it around to everybody who's in your friends, and make sure that it's done equally. My mom did this for sure. So I would take that candy or take the bag of cookies or whatever it was, and I would spread those around to my brothers. And I would say, here's one for you, and here's one for you. And because I'm a part of this group, I'm going to take one out of the community pot, and I'm going to hold on to that one. And then we're just going to keep going around until all the cookies or all the candy's gone, right? One for you, one for you, one for me, one for you, one for you, one for me. You remember doing this, right? This happens all the time. Well, what would happen if I didn't pass those pieces of candy out, or I didn't pass those cookies out? What if I said, look, I'm in charge of passing these things out for sure. I do a good job of this. So brothers, I'm going to give you everything, in equal portions. When I get the candy, I'm going to do that. I make that commitment to you. So you don't even have to worry about going to mom and getting the candy. I'm going to handle it for you. Cool, Rob. You're a great guy. You've never done us wrong. You're in charge. Great. So the next time that my mom gives me a bag of cookies or a bag of candy, I say to myself, those people over there, they don't really deserve these cookies. They don't really need them. Maybe they're a little out of shape. They had plenty of cookies yesterday. I'm just going to go ahead and presume that they don't want them. And I'm just going to keep those cookies for myself, and I'm just going to hang on to them, and I'm going to take them back to my house, and I'm going to deposit them in my pantry, and those are going to be my cookies forever. What would that mean? What would that be? That would be essentially theft, right? There's a lot of things to call it. You can call it embezzlement. You can call it fraudulent schemes. You can call it misappropriation, conversion, tortious interference. The cookies from my mom were never intended for me. A portion of them were, but the others were intended for the other people in that group. So by me accepting them and then holding on to them, essentially that's theft. I'm taking property that was not mine, that was entrusted to me to pass on to somebody else, but I violated that trust. I was holding on to those cookies with no intention of giving them out or even having a conversation about it, and I misappropriated them. I took those and they are now mine, right? This is very similar to other things, right? What if you take your electrical cord and you plug it into your neighbor's home? You're taking their property, right? That is misappropriation of something. Well, that is essentially what happened in this story. So we can see here from the Boston Globe that a state police lieutenant, a top earner, retires amid internal probe into paid detail violation. And he makes a big admission here. Did I shortcut the process? I did, but there was nothing unethical intended. So here's what I want to discuss. So in Boston, here's what would happen. Every week, Mark Lombardi would get notification that he got a new bag of cookies that he needed to divvy out. These were called special details or detail assignments that were overtime assignments. And the reason why other officers wanted this is because they get paid very well for these types of cases. If you get on special detail or on special assignment, they pay you $50 an hour. Now, normally, which is good money for this type of work, $50 an hour. Now, normally these paid detail shifts, they go to the first trooper who in the past basically 5 weeks who didn't get a shift. One of the past troopers, if you didn't work a lot of hours, you were up in the queue. You got the next detailed assignment and you could go work and you could get that additional overtime, get that money, get that detail money. And Sounds like a pretty fair deal. The guy who works the least gets the first crack at it. The guy who works the least the next time gets the next crack at it. And so you just kind of have this round robin where you're passing out the cookies in a fair manner. Sounds pretty fair. So in this situation, what happened was Mark got the details. Mark Lombardi, who is a 27-year veteran of the Boston Troopers Association, Troopers Police Department. And he got the details and he didn't pass them out. So he got the cookies, but he didn't share the love with his other friends. He only kept them to himself. And that's what I was explaining where he said, did I shortcut the process? He said, yes, I did, but there was nothing unethical intended. His justification for it is that these other officers, they wouldn't have wanted the assignments anyways. Most of these assignments were for early in the morning. They were things that he wasn't too he knew them. He knew they wouldn't want to do it. It's too early. It's 5 a.m. They're still asleep. They don't want this assignment. So guess what? I'll just take it. And he goes through and he short circuits the whole process. So he gets that overtime. He gets that money. Now, is this a big deal? I mean, it sounds like it's just a little overtime. How much money could that really be? I mean, how much are we talking about? Are we talking about like 10 hours every week? Are we talking about, $10,000 on a year? Let's say he's getting $100,000 in salary and he's making 110 because he took some extra shifts. Is that what we're talking about? It's a little bit more substantial than that. Let's take a look at the numbers from the article. Last year, Lombardi made $297 and $252. So over $250,000. He was the fourth highest paid total in the department, including $38,000 in overtime and $112,000 in detail and other pay. So that guy is making close to, what is that, $150,000. About half of his income is from these different assignments, from overtime and from other detail. Basically, he's doubling his salary. If his underlying salary is about $150 and he's tacking on another $150 on top of it in sort of taking these opportunities from his fellow troopers, he's going to basically double his income. We're talking about $300,000. All those times you hear those stories about these cops, about how unpaid they are, underpaid and overworked and how stressed out they are. This guy's making $300,000 a year. I know doctors and lawyers and many professionals with many years of education who don't make that kind of money. This guy's been on the force for 27 years. Presumably he's getting his pay bump every year, and I don't fault that. People who are worth that are worth that. But when somebody comes through and they actually start shortcutting the process so that their other people don't get it, and then they rack up, they double their salary. The question then becomes, is this officer really worth $300,000 a year? I don't know. Maybe he is. I really don't know. That's up for the department to talk about, and that's for his fellow troopers to talk about. What about the people who would have loved those opportunities at 5 a.m, but they didn't get them because this officer was dishonest and he took those opportunities away from them? He says, did I shortcut the process? I did, but nothing unethical was intended. Those are his words. Well, for the last 27 years, did this guy arrest somebody who didn't intend to commit a crime, who didn't intend to do something, did not intend to get into an argument with their spouse? But they did. Things got loud. Their neighbors called the police. Cops show up. Somebody gets arrested for that. Did they intend to get arrested? Of course not. Did they intend to speed when you pulled them over and gave them a speeding ticket? Probably not. Most people are not intentionally speeding around just trying to get in trouble with law enforcement. So this cop is going through and he's saying, well, yeah, I mean, look, I did do that, but I didn't intend to be unethical. So, of course, what are they going to do about this? Are they going to let him get off the hook because he had good intentions? Probably. Did he let people get off the hook when he stopped them and they also had good intentions? I'm going to guess probably not.